And welcome back to Viewpoint. Making sure we don't forget the past and the accomplishments and sacrifices of previous generations takes effort. A Meridian teenager and his teacher did a lot of work to find out everything they could about Ray Coffey of Boise. Coffey was killed a couple weeks after the D-Day invasion during World War II. Their work is keeping him from basically being forgotten. Soon-to-be Renaissance High School junior Josh White and his teacher, Janelle Gilson, recently went to the American Cemetery in Normandy, France. The purpose? To tell the story and honor and remember this silent hero whose story of making the ultimate sacrifice has never been told. They were one of only 15 student-teacher teams from across the country selected to go and take part in the Silent Hero Project. Josh White and Janelle Gilson join me now to talk more about, it's a long name, Normandy, Sacrifice for Freedom, Albert H. Small Student and Teacher Institute, and the Silent Hero Project. Thank you both for coming in today to talk about this. This is really cool. I'm really fascinated by this. Let's start off with the Silent Hero Project, Josh. What is it in a nutshell?
In a nutshell, the Silent Hero Project is we pick a hero, a soldier that died during World War II.
From your home state,
From our
right?
state, yeah. So there were about 30 people buried in the Normandy American Cemetery, and then from Idaho. So we'd choose one of those soldiers, and then we'd spend 6 months doing research about the soldier and their life and what led up to fighting in Normandy. And then we'd go to Normandy and give a eulogy at his grave at the Normandy American Cemetery.
Why is it called Silent Hero?
The reason it's called Silent Hero is that the message that a lot of these heroes are being forgotten, so we need to make their story told, because up until this point their story has been silent.
Now, how did this all come about? How did you get selected? I mean, you're one of only 15 from across the country. How did you get selected to take part in this?
Mrs. Gilson approached me at my school and asked me if I wanted to be a part of this institute, and then you can talk about it.
Well, I was on the National History Day website. It's a program that I like to incorporate in my research classes. And I saw this program, and it looked amazing. We spent a week in Washington, D.C., and then a week in Normandy, France. And as I was considering this, I was thinking, what student could I choose? And it was really difficult because Renaissance is filled with great students. And so I thought Josh would really respond to this.
And this is pretty intensive research, right? I mean, it's not just like look for an old newspaper clipping or something, right?
No, it was intensive research. We went to the state archives and we did a lot of online research through Ancestry.com and through Fold3, just looking for any information that could have his name that we could find about him.
Okay, so you went to Washington and then you went to Normandy. So what, Josh, first of all, did you do in Normandy over the time period that you were there?
Well, while we were in Normandy, we toured a lot of places in Normandy in the northern France. And we went to places like St. Lo, Pointe du Hoc, St. Mary-Glise, and there's a bunch of different places where battles
Key places
happened.
In the war.
Yeah,
right?
Key places in the war where battles happened and where soldiers died. So we went there, and it put everything that we've been learning up to that point to our experiences into our eyes. And it just showed us that this is real.
And did you also learn more while you were there?
Yeah, we learned a lot more about what was going on during the time. And as we went to each place, we had Dr. DeHaze. He was a historian, and he taught us about what happened at each place, and it was just really interesting to show how the battle and the war progressed.
So, Janelle, through this whole process, what was your role?
Well, Josh and I actually, every week there were extensive readings. So we started in January, and so we would do the readings, we'd post online, we'd interact with the other students and teachers, and we had to make sure that we're pacing, that we're doing our research about Ray, and trying to find out as much as possible, because the end product is to create this eulogy that was going to be read over the grave. And it was just amazing what we learned about Ray and about the sacrifices of the Idahoans who are buried there in the American Cemetery. I never would have guessed that there are 30 men buried in the American Cemetery from Idaho. It was really surprising to me.
Kind of probably sets you back a little bit, huh?
It does, because you think of Idaho not very populated, and yet there are 30 Americans
especially
buried
at
there.
that time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as we find out about the other American cemeteries throughout the world, I found out that there are 29 buried in Tunisia, in North Africa. I had no idea that there were so many Idahoans who fought in these wars and paid the ultimate sacrifice.
Now, Josh, the silent hero that you focused on was Ray O. Coffey from Boise. So let's tell his story a little bit. What did you learn about him that people need to know about this hero?
Well, throughout our research, we learned many interesting facts about Ray. One was that he grew up on a farm over by the fairgrounds, and he was the oldest of 5 children. And he worked in mines and mine construction, which we suspect could be one of the reasons that he was asked, or he
went into
engineering, yeah, because he had mine construction experience. And he was a lot older than the average World War II soldier, because he was 37 years old when he enlisted, and the average World War II soldier was only 26 years old. So I thought that was really interesting.
And then what did he do in the war?
In the war, he was a combat engineer, and what they did was they got past the hedgerows, which were like fences that were built during World War II out of vines that grew for so many years. And then they also dug out mines and helped clear the way, and were almost the unsung heroes of the military that we don't really hear a lot about, because they cleared the way for the soldiers.
Say they're almost like the front lines in front of the front lines.
Yeah, they were in front of the front lines.
Janelle, how intense, or how difficult was it to find out information about Ray? What kind of obstacles did you come across in the research, maybe because of his family situation?
Well, it was a little bit difficult because Ray never married and he never had children. And of the 5 siblings, I think only one had children, and they live out of state, so we weren't really able to get a lot of information, unfortunately. But everything we learned was from the census reports, and it's amazing what you can find, you know. And also we found out information a little bit, there were little snippets here and there in the Idaho Statesman. We know that he was a farmer, that his family were farming, and that he was living with his mother. We were able to determine that you know, he left Boise High as a junior when his father died in 1922.
Most likely to help the family.
Yes, yes. And unfortunately, because of that, we don't have a picture of Ray. And
no senior portrait.
No senior portrait, and that's the one thing we've been looking for. We'd like to put a face.
Well, maybe someone watching will be able to help connect you with that. Now, Josh, you had mentioned that one of the big things was you're going to be able to deliver a eulogy to Ray there. We have a clip from that eulogy that I want to play right now. Let's take a listen, and then I'll have you comment on that.
There was continued rain, mud, and cold through the attack on Hill 192, and this was Ray Coffey's final battle. On June 23, 1944, at age 39, Ray O. Coffey was killed by mortar fire, along with his captain, Leon Huffnance. The Coffey family decided to leave Ray Coffey's body here in Normandy with other soldiers who fought and died. He received both a Bronze Star and a Purple Heart for his actions.
So, Josh, what does it mean to you to have been able to deliver a eulogy for him?
It was a very meaningful experience, and nothing that I had studied up to the trip in Normandy could compare to the feelings that I experienced giving my eulogy. It was such a powerful and emotional experience because it all added up. All the time I've spent researching about him, it just showed me that I care about Ray and that I care about these soldiers getting the recognition that they deserve.
And is that what it all boils down to? Why is it so important that we do projects like this to remember these people?
Well, it is so important that we remember these people because they've made sacrifices. And before I went on this trip and did all this research, it just seemed like something I'd read in a textbook and be like, okay, well, it's history class, now I'm done. But after doing this trip, it made me realize that these are real people making real sacrifices. And it's such a powerful thing that we need to make sure that these people get thankful and get thanked for the sacrifices that they made. And I'm just so grateful. And these same sacrifices are being made today as well. So we should thank our soldiers.
And Janelle, you also just came across graves, as you mentioned, of other Idahoans who were there.
Yes.
And you also have something in mind to kind of honor them as well with your students, right?
Yes, absolutely. The Silent Hero Project has just been with our group of 15 teachers and students, and they're trying to expand that to classrooms. And I'd like to do that every year, do 1 or 2 silent heroes from Idaho and have the students learn about that person and just incorporate history in a more meaningful way.
Now, Josh, also there is a way you still hope to honor Mr. Coffey even further, right, in terms of a monument here?
Yeah, there's 2 World War II memorials at Boise High School, and we hope to have his name added on there because his name's not on the World War II memorials, and we're surprised about that because he went to Boise High School. But we feel like one of the reasons could be that he enlisted into the war at such a later age, and plus he didn't graduate there either. So it'd be nice to have his name added there because he deserves to be on there.
And your project isn't over, right? I mean, if you can keep gathering information, you'd like to learn as much as you can about him, right?
Definitely.
And that picture.
That picture. We need a picture of Ray, and I'm never going to forget Ray. This is something that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life because it's been such a powerful experience.
It's obvious to me how much it has touched you to be part of that. So thank you for doing that and for helping all of us keep these important people in mind. Janelle, you too. Thank you so much for coming here today. And when we come back, some poignant final words from Josh's eulogy. It's never too late to say thank you. We often hear how meaningful it is to our servicemen and women and veterans for us to say thank you for their service. Josh White and Janelle Gilson took that to the extreme by bringing a largely forgotten soldier's name, history, and heroics back into the light of the present day, and by going all the way to Normandy to say thank you to him where he rests in peace. I want to close today's viewpoint with the conclusion of Josh's eulogy to Ray O'Coffey, words that cut right to the heart of the matter for Mr. Coffey and all who have served and those who have died for our country.
It is important that these soldiers be remembered, and this is why I am here today, to thank my silent hero for all that he has done. Thank you for clearing the path for the success of the Allied troops. Thank you for sacrificing your life. Thank you for fighting for our freedom. Technician 4th grade, Ray Oliver Coffey, from all of us, thank you.
Yes, from all of us, thank you. And thank you, Josh, for saying it so well. Well, that is all of our time today. Thank you for watching. I'll see you this week on Today's Morning News and right back here at the same time next Sunday morning for another Viewpoint. Welcome back to Viewpoint. I'm Doug Petcash. History isn't just something you read in a textbook, but it is about real people making real sacrifices. It's a good quote and a statement of belief, told to me not by a wise old man, but by a wise young man, a teenager, in fact, named Josh White. He's a senior at Renaissance High School in Meridian who is doing great work preserving the stories of World War II heroes. First, he earned the opportunity to go to Normandy, France to research and tell the story of a silent hero from Idaho named Ray Coffey, who was killed a couple weeks after D-Day. Now, Josh has been selected to be a student ambassador for the National World War II Museum to collect oral histories of World War II veterans. Josh White joins me now, and this is actually his second appearance on Viewpoint. He was here in July of 2016 to talk about the Normandy Project, and I wanted to have him back because of this most recent honor that he received, being chosen as a National World War II Museum Student Ambassador. So, Josh, it's good to have you back, man.
Yeah, thank you for
letting
me go on the show.
Congratulations on this latest honor. So, what does it mean to you to be one of 8 students from across the whole country to be selected as a student ambassador for the World War II History Museum?
I'm so honored to have this opportunity to be able to be a student ambassador. I'm the first student from Idaho that's able to do this and be part of this student ambassador program. So it's just such an honor to have that opportunity to be able to interview World War II veterans in the area and be able to preserve their story.
I was going to ask you that. That was going to be next. So what are you going to be doing through this project?
So through this project, I am contacting World War II veterans from around the Boise and Meridian area. And through that, I will contact them and interview them about their experiences in World War II. They don't even have to be World War II veterans. It could be anybody that lived during World War II and has a story to tell. So I'll be interviewing them, and then I'll be conducting video interviews, and they will be sent to the National World War II Museum to preserve their story for generations to come.
You keep anticipating my next question. I was going to say, what's going to happen with all of these? Will they be in an archive that someone would be able to either go to the museum to look at in Washington, D.C., or they would be able to see them online?
Yes, the National World War II Museum has a National Archives. Has an online video archives for all the interviews that go on there. So it's really cool to be able to add to that collection.
I would imagine so. And where do you stand in this project at this point?
Right now, I'm conducting a practice interview, setting up all my equipment, and getting ready to begin those interviews. I actually have made connections with the Warhawk Air Museum, the Boise Bench Lions Club, different service organizations in the community that have any connection to World War II veterans in the area, because I hope to connect and talk to as many as possible.
So that's how you're tracking these veterans down through those organizations?
Yes.
That's a good idea. That's good. Because I know that the Warhawk Air Museum already has a pretty good collection of those oral histories too. So great place to work through there.
Yeah.
Why is doing this type of work so important to you?
It's so important to me because I just have such a passion for remembering our World War II soldiers, and we're starting to lose our veterans and our World War II soldiers. So it's really important to make sure that every veteran has the opportunity to tell their story and preserve their story for years to come. Because as I was studying and researching Ray Coffey from the Normandy Institute I was a part of, I couldn't find anyone that remembered him as much as we found information about. So this has really given me a passion to make sure that no one's story is forgotten.
And we're going to talk about that project right now. And you searched Ray Oliver Coffey, Boise High School graduate who died 2 weeks after the D-Day invasion of Normandy, or 2 weeks, excuse me.
After that, yeah.
And then, so what did you do in that project? I know you actually did end up going to Normandy as part of it.
So for that project, I spent 6 months studying about World War II and recreating the life of Ray Oliver Coffey using Ancestry, going to the Idaho State Archives and looking through yearbooks, and contacting anybody that might have any information about Ray. So while doing that, I was able to recreate a story, and then I wrote a eulogy. And then after all this information I've gathered, I went to Washington, D.C., and then Normandy, France. And I went to the Normandy American Cemetery and delivered a eulogy at his grave, remembering him for the sacrifices that he made.
And now you've actually had something happen at Boise High School because of this, and we have a picture of this plaque that is there. Where is this, and how did that come about?
This is at Boise High School by the World War II Memorial for all the veterans. And when Mrs. Gilson, the teacher I did it with, she went to Boise High School and looked at the memorial and realized that Ray's name is not on the memorial. And we were a little bit confused, wondering why he wasn't on there. Then we realized Ray dropped out of high school at his junior year, so maybe that was why he was not on it. So we made that our project to make sure that he gets remembered on that memorial for the sacrifices that he made. So we contacted the principal, and through that he was able to get a plaque made for Ray, which I'm so grateful for. And I'm really thankful that we were able to get this done.
And it was called the Silent Hero Project because so many of these soldiers, Marines, sailors, their stories were kind of largely forgotten, right?
Yeah, they were, especially for Ray, because there wasn't a lot of information about him that we could find. So this is our goal, to make sure that no one is forgotten.
And now you've actually, along those lines, created a website too that's dedicated to Ray and his story and what combat engineers did during the war and some of the history as well, right? And can you talk about the website a little bit, what you have put on there?
Yeah. On the website, I put information about his life. I put information about what was going on in Boise during World War II. I put information on what a combat engineer does. And then I also included my eulogy and my reflection of doing World War II research and of the Institute itself. And I was able to take all the information that I had gathered through the Normandy Institute and just building Ray's life, and I was able to show it and really work on giving him the proper recognition that he deserves.
So what sparked all of this interest in history for you?
That's a hard question. It just began in school in my history class. I just found such an interest in World War II. It began with learning about the Holocaust and learning about the things that happened there. And then as I went and learned about World War II history with soldiers, I just realized how important their sacrifices are. And as I did National History Day and got connections with the Normandy Institute, and then eventually got connections with this, it just made me realize how important it is to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to be remembered for the sacrifices that they made.
Now, is there somewhere there or somehow that people are going to be able to contact you if they would like their story to be told to you, or if they have a family member who was a World War II veteran that they would like to have talk to you?
Yeah, I can share my contact information. I have a business card with my name and stuff on it.
So you'll be passing that out?
Yeah, I'll be passing that around and do that.
Okay. What ultimately do you hope then comes out of this project? Do you have a goal in mind for the World War II Museum project? Or how many stories you'd like to collect or anything like that?
Well, the program itself says that they want me to get at least 5. My goal is to preserve as many stories as possible to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to be remembered and preserve their story.
So their goal is a lot more modest than yours is. I've gotten to know you a little bit over the couple of years. I don't think you're going to stop at 5.
Yeah, I don't know. I have got a lot of contact information to many veterans, so hopefully, I mean, I'm definitely getting more than 5. So.
And also, just you're the what is it? Student body president.
Senior class president.
Senior class president, and you're also.
I'm the president of National History Day Club.
Which is also coming up, right? You're competing in National History Day again this year,
Yeah, I'm competing
right?
at regionals in March, and then I'll see if I advance from there.
What's the project this year, real quick?
I'm doing a story about the last battle of World War II, where American and German soldiers teamed together to rescue these French politicians that were captured in Austrian castle. The topic is conflict and compromise, so that's like one of the biggest stories I've been able to find.
That sounds like big conflict and compromise. I've never heard of that one before, though. So, Josh, again, congratulations, and best wishes on this big project and collecting as many of these histories as you can. And it's a pleasure to see you again.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, you are so welcome. Well, still ahead on Viewpoint, a Hall of Fame homecoming for an Idaho sports legend.
Today is Idaho Day. On this day in 1863, Abraham Lincoln declared Idaho a territory. This year's theme is Idaho Remembers, honoring the 100th anniversary of World War I armistice and all Idaho veterans who served. A special event was held at the State House this afternoon to celebrate, with performances by the Idaho Army National Guard, the 25th Army Band, and the Highlands Elementary School Choir. Idaho National History winner Josh White also presented his tribute of one of Idaho's silent heroes, Ray O. Coffey, who died in France during World War II.
History is so important to me because it tells the story of those who sacrificed their lives, and not only in wars, but in all occupations. And it is such an important thing to me to get to know the stories of those who sacrificed their lives.
Idaho Day is also enjoyed throughout the state by schools, universities, and state agencies.